Hey guys, this is another sort of, I don't know what I'd call it. It's a furry editorial. I guess I'm making a series at this point, whatever. This video is going to be a little bit different because I planned ahead. It's not quite a script, it's more of a, chart. These are the notes I took about what I'm going to talk about today. Now, there's a lot of notes here. I'm going to try to make it, keep it kind of brief, quick to the point, because I could spend a lot of time on this, but I want to get moving because I'm tired and I, want to take a nap and whatnot. So, I'm going to try to cover this as quickly as I can, just kind of hit the bullet points and go from there. So, the video, I'm going to be referring to this, so. This video is called Furry Phobia. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf fursuiter? Real quickly, the idea is, I've noticed that there's a lot of people online, message boards and forums and whatnot, people talking about being afraid of fursuits and fursuiters. And I'm wondering why that is. Why is it somebody's afraid of this? And I have a few theories that I've cataloged here. Okay. There's three main factors, three different issues. The Werewolf Factor, as I call it, the Uncanny Valley, and the idea that something that's not entirely human equals a monster. So, three ideas here. Okay, let's start with the werewolf factor. The werewolf legends from Europe and even Africans, they have were-hyenas, so that's a thing. You see, vampires, mummies, zombies, and certain aliens, these are all humanoid monsters. They're still mostly human in appearance. Like Dracula, he looks like a person. Zombies, they still look like humans. Klingons look like people, just with weird foreheads. But werewolves are the only ones on this list that are definitely not human, as in, you see that it's definitely not a person, not a human. Like I said, it's rooted in myth, where the Europeans have the werewolf going back, centuries, and even Africans have were-hyenas and all sorts of stuff like that. And I think this is part of the heart of the issue, but I'm going to try to get to the point here. The thing about a werewolf is, it represents the loss of humanity, the man becoming a monster, like a beast. Losing independent higher thought and turning into this weird flesh-eating creature, werewolf. Like we see in, movies like The Wolfman, American Werewolf in London, Dog Soldiers, stuff like that. Those are some, the big primary examples of, when someone turns into a werewolf, they're turning into this flesh-eating monster. They don't turn into a nice person, they turn into a thing, It's a primal fear. It's as old as time itself. It's as old as humankind. The whole, werewolves and all these sorts of ideas of man turning into beasts. And the reason I call it the werewolf factor is that a lot of fursuits resemble werewolves in theory. In practice, actually. And, it's not just children, but adults that are afraid of fursuits and fursuiters. It's apparently a very common phobia, like actual legit fear phobia, that people talk about on the internet. Even within the furry community, there are some people who are like, I'm afraid of fursuits and fursuiters. Well, again, why is that? What's the heart of the issue? Here's the thing. Nobody's afraid of a cartoon character, but to see one in real life, that can be a little weird. Like those pictures where it's like, oh, Homer Simpson drawn realistically. It's like, there's something weird about it. Or see like a character in 3D in real life. Here's the thing. Most fursuiters are cute and cuddly. They're not at all scary or intimidating looking. They're just cute, people that want to have fun, hang out and do, silly fursuit dances and whatnot. But there are some fursuiters that don't talk, and people see that, and that's a little intimidating. Having this, 6-foot-tall, furry beast that's just kind of like, doing pantomimes and stuff. It's like, what does he want? Whereas, if you're actually talking in fursuit, that can ease the tension, so to speak. And it's kind of the whole debate of to talk or not to talk in fursuit. That's a whole, argument furries have. Some of them don't want to break character, they don't want to talk, and they just want to do charades or whatever, but so it can be a little scary for some people to have just a big, mute, furry creature coming after them. But I guess the big question is why? What's the deeper root of the issue here? Because I kind of a bit of a amateur psychologist, I'd like to say, where it's not just, oh, this is a thing. I'm wondering, why is that a thing? What's the deeper issue? Like, what's the root cause? Like, I'm talking about, werewolves being something that's rooted deeply in myth, where, let's talk about that as sort of a key issue. Pardon me. I think it's everything over there. So that's the whole point of the werewolf factor, is that this resembles a werewolf. It's a big humanoid animal creature, and somebody sees that for the first time. It's like, ah, what is that? It's that sort of instant reaction of ah. It's that kind of. It's like seeing a werewolf in real life for some people. Okay, that's the werewolf factor, as I call it. Number 2, the Uncanny Valley. The Uncanny Valley, simply put, is something that's human, but not quite human. A good example is those like creepy, Japanese robots where it looks like a person, like it's flesh and blood like a human, but you can just tell by the eyes and the movement that it's not real. And that you see those videos, it's like, that's kind of creepy. That's not right. It's this gut reaction of, that's not right. That's not human. There's something off about it. Like, you see movie androids all the time, like, Ash and Bishop from the Alien series. They're always played by human actors, so they're still human. They're still like a regular person. There's not like this uncanny valley about that, even though they're a human playing a robot. It's just covered in skin, a cyborg kind of thing. Whereas there's a couple of scenes in the original Terminator movie where puppets and animatronics of Schwarzenegger are used, where he's like, performing eye surgery on himself and whatnot, where you see that, and even if you're not familiar with the fact that it's a special effect, you still say, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look like Schwarzenegger. There's something off about it, just the way he's moving, and it's like a creepy factor for some people. You know what I mean? Again, another example of the Uncanny Valley, this whole effect, is you see these articles online where it's like this. It's an old-timey picture of like a family portrait, back from the 1800s or whatever. But you look at it and there's something wrong about it, something creepy. You're not quite sure, and then you do a little research and it turns out, oh crap, that child's been dead, and they're posing with a dead person in the picture. That's creepy. But you can tell instantly. There's something about it where you see that and your brain automatically says, that child is dead, that grandma is dead, but they're posing in the family photo because, ew, it's a thing. Another example of Uncanny Valley is the idea of wax dummies that are too realistic, or, like animatronic people, and, something that looks human, but it doesn't move right. It's not like, it looks human, but it's not human. There's this gut reaction, like I said. And the thing is, a 6-foot-tall bipedal dog, that's not normal. That's not natural. That's, again, like a werewolf. It's something unusual. So, another big point I'm trying to make, big point, bullet point, underlined, marked, is the fear of clowns and mascots. That's a really big issue. It has a fancy name I'm not even going to begin to pronounce. Again, big question is why? What's the root cause of fear of clowns and whatnot? Because there's not just the scary clown, stereotype, it, killer clowns from outer space or whatever, but even regular clowns, a lot of people find scary. And there's like these childhood fears and trauma that turned into these phobias that follow people all through their lives. It's like, clowns, that it's like a legit scary thing for some people. And part of that, that was my stomach. Part of that is the idea of the Uncanny Valley, something that looks human, but it's not quite human. It's the colors are off, the proportions are off, like the hands and feet are too big, or the white makeup looks like a death face, and all sorts of stuff, like a caricature of a person kind of thing. So that's a big issue, is the Uncanny Valley effect. Like when it comes to computer animated people in movies, they're almost always caricatures. They're very rarely realistic looking. They don't try to replicate this. They go for something that's more of a cartoony effect, like you see in all the, like the kids' movies and whatnot. Like even video game graphics, whatnot, they're very realistic, but they're not quite perfect yet, where they look like a person, but just the mouth movement or the eyes or something, you can tell it's not, right. It's not real. It's just it's a digital representation of a person. And there we go. The movie Star Wars Rogue One, that was somewhat infamous for featuring a CGI Governor Tarkin. Peter Cushing, long dead actor, they resurrected him as sort of a techno zombie, so to speak, through computer animation. And that was a big deal for some people. It's like, why not just hire an actor, and put some makeup on him? Why spend all this money to digitally recreate somebody who's been dead for all these years? And it was unsettling for some people because you're looking at something it looks like a human, but it's not real. You know what I mean? It's not quite right. And another example of the whole issue of money is, that debate on holograms of dead celebrities and whatnot. Something that's, you're like watching a technological ghost. It's kind of creepy to some people. Uncanny Valley. That's the big point there. I think I covered everything here. Okay, and the third thing is the idea that something that's not entirely human is a monster. Like look at the Greek myths. There's a lot of half-human monsters in there. You know, the centaur, minotaur, harpy, satyr, Medusa, and Cyclops. These are all creatures that have human characteristics, but there's something twisted about them where it's like, it's a human, but it has like, I don't know, some animal body part, and it's a monster kind of thing. And this, again, this is me, just amateur psychologist or whatever. What's the deeper heart of the issue here? And it kind of brings up the question, you know, what separates us from the animals? You know, what about animals that act too human, so to speak? Like you've probably seen, you know, those pictures of the apes, like the chimps or gorillas who walk around on 2 feet, and there's something unsettling about it, you know. I mean, it's kind of like the idea of the, you know, the Sasquatch and whatnot, where it's like, it's an ape, but it's acting human, it's walking on bipedally, that's not what they're supposed to do. And we're different than animals, so to see an anthropomorphic animal, that challenges that principle, and it's just not the natural order of things. You know, this is normal, this is not, you know what I mean? Again, this sort of deeper issue that I'm trying to get to is the idea that a humanoid animal, you know, an animal with human characteristics, it's kind of like a metaphoric hybrid where you have animal and human crossing together, making a furry, anthropomorphic, you know, creature. That's kind of like bestiality to some people. You know, history is full of, you know, not just, you know, anthropomorphic animals from fables and mythology and whatnot, but also there's a lot of characters that are like the coyote or the kitsune from Japan, which are, you know, trickster characters where it's a animal pretending to be a human in order to, you know, screw with the people and, you know, take their money or do all these sorts of, you know, crazy, you know, just a prank bro kind of things. And what I said about humans being, you know, different than animal kingdom, it's this idea that, you know, for a human to turn into an animal, to turn into a beast, is to become lesser. And I think that's part of the issue, is this whole deeply rooted psychological thing where it doesn't sit well for some people. And I think that's the point. I think I covered everything on my list here. So, there we go. In my sort of amateur psychologist, you know, 5-minute Google research project, that's my idea of why people are afraid of fursuiters. It's not just a big scary cartoon animal, but it's a deeper seated issue. It's actually about mythology and this, you know, the anthropomorphic hybrids and all this other stuff that I was just talking about for the past few minutes. I think that's part of the issue, you know, but just to reiterate one last time, what I call the Werewolf Factor, the Uncanny Valley, and the idea that something that's not entirely human is a monster. So I think those are three big reasons why some people are afraid of fursuiters. You know, it's not just scary Technicolor fox, but it's a deeper issue. And I think it was kind of neat to explore and, you know, kind of the, I don't know, armchair psychologist kind of thing. So that was kind of neat. So I guess this is going to be a thing now, sort of furry editorials. I don't know what I'm going to call the series, but there you go. Just a thought. See ya.